Welcome to the Reid Method Insider Podcast, everyone. It's episode 38. It's a very excited and anticipated episode with a very special guest joining me live tonight, all the way from the West Coast, San Francisco. We will be talking tonight about how to maximize productivity and sales by incorporating technology. And for a guy like myself, who's been in the automotive sales and retail space for many years, as well as outdoor sales or outside sales, I'm very intrigued to talk to our special guest tonight, as I traveled extensively across North America and parts of Canada selling advertising. So when I realized what our special guest had created, I wish I had known him about a few years ago when I was traveling. So here we go. In this episode,
the good news is it didn't exist a few years ago. It's fairly new. I didn't start the company until 2012, so you didn't miss much.
I didn't miss much. Well, cool. In this episode 38 of the Reid Method Insider Podcast, we want to focus our attention on how to maximize productivity and sales by incorporating technology. As a sales professional, entrepreneur, and a go-getter, always looking for ways to increase productivity, sales, and ultimately profitability and satisfaction in our daily lives. Tonight's guest can certainly put you on the right track towards increasing productivity and profitability in your sales career or in your business ventures. And as we share some of the innovative ideas that he has to maximize one's success. And our special guest tonight is the founder and CEO of Badger Maps, which is the #1 planner for field salespeople. After receiving an MBA from Stanford, his career has been in the field sales with companies such as IBM, Autonomy, and Google. And this I found really, really mind-blowing. He became Google's top enterprise performing salesperson in the world in 2009. And in 2012, he founded Badger Maps to help field sales reps become more successful. He has been selected as one of the top 40 most inspiring leaders in sales lead management. And tonight, for episode 39, I'm pumped to be joined by Stephen Benson. Welcome to the show, Stephen.
Hey, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. This is fantastic.
Well, amazing. So tell us about Badger Maps. Stephen, I can't wait to get into this, to find out more about your company.
Sure. So Badger Maps, what we do is we've built a solution for field salespeople, outside salespeople, to build them routes, help them understand their territory, do a bunch of busy work for them in an automated way so they don't have to do it by hand. We help them figure out which customers and prospects to focus their time on, and generally be more organized and save a bunch of time, spend less time behind the wheel, spend more time selling. Bunch of productivity stuff, bunch of accuracy stuff, just making their day easier, better, more productive.
The part that caught my attention when I was checking out the information about Badger Maps and the benefits was the amount of time one could save.
Yeah.
Because we all could use more of that. So what led or inspired you after being with such a company as Google in a top performing role as you were in the world, #1 sales guy in the world, to take on the entrepreneurship world to create Badger Maps?
Well, I mean, I can tell you, everyone, my mom thought it was a crazy idea.
Most people usually do.
but you have such a good job. Don't leave that. You keep doing that.
We've heard that too many times.
Yep. So I was my whole career was in field sales, and this was a problem that I knew really well. I had lived the problems and challenges that field salespeople have. And working at Google, I had gotten the opportunity to do some work with solutions surrounding the Google Maps API. And at the time, mobile was really coming into its own. Like if you think 2011, 2012, mobile devices were really getting fast enough, strong enough to run real software. So it's no longer the there's still a bunch of BlackBerries around, but Androids and iPhones are marching down the path and getting faster and stronger. And also at that time, internet connectivity was getting stronger. It was if you remember 2009, if you ran a Google Maps search, it might take 5 minutes or something to get your directions, just because the internet was so slow. If you did it on your computer with Wi-Fi, it would take 2 seconds. But
Yeah, exactly.
well, not even 2 seconds, 2 milliseconds. But because of the delay with connectivity to the devices, you really couldn't run great software. Around this time, all those trends were coming together. The speed of the internet on the devices themselves were getting fast enough and strong enough, and the Google Maps API had matured enough that I could see those three things combined. You could build a solution that would really solve a bunch of problems that field salespeople had around building routes, organizing their time in the field. I mean, nobody's more mobile than a field salesperson, right? They're literally on the road. They're a field. They're an outside salespeople. They are outside the office. They are in the field. And so they really needed some of these problems that they have solved on their mobile device. So it was, building a map-based solution where they could put all their prospects and customers on a map, organize them, filter them by who they should be paying attention to and who they should be spending their time with, who they should focus on, and then be able to quickly and easily build routes and organize their time in the field, figure out how to minimize mileage behind the wheel and maximize time in front of the right customers.
Wow.
It wasn't a terribly complex it's not a terribly complex software problem to solve. It's not rocket science or putting people on the moon or anything. It's an app on the phone. But it was just with the capabilities that we had in place at that time, it really became possible to solve these guys' problems.
Well, there's a lot of details, and based on all the capabilities you just mentioned, there's a lot of thought that obviously went into it, and time management, mapping, distance, most valuable clients. I like it, and like I said, I wish I might check it out after this to see how I can benefit, because I do a lot of meetings myself, even though I work in an automotive in the automotive retail space. I'm on the road a lot. I choose to go out and meet clients myself. So I'm anything that has a potential of saving me 10 hours a week, or even saves me 3-4 hours a week. I'm a fan of that. So,
well, and as crazy as that sounds, like, people really do, a field salesperson spends a ton of time organizing their time, trying to figure out who they're going to see, and then actually planning out and doing the driving around. And if you can make the planning process more effective, and then reduce their routing, their routing time, the time they're actually spending driving around, because you've made it efficient. And that's not to mention the time focusing on the right customers. If you're focused on the right people, you do way, way better. And it's hard to know who to focus on given where you're going to be on the map, right? And that's what Badger makes really easy. It's like, well, over the next week, where am I going to go? How am I going to get there? And then once I'm on the way, being optimized, once I know, these are the 30 people I'm going to see in the next week, really optimizing that across the days is what you save so much time and effort.
So a field sales rep, based on what I'm hearing, could decide who to spend more quality time with and less with while they develop those accounts. If you need more time with one account, and if you spend an extra 10 minutes, you can potentially close the deal or make the sale. No, it's very good. So who does Badger Maps benefit most? So ultimately, when you thought about this, is it just field sales reps, or who does it benefit most?
So it's a great question, and most software platforms in the sales space are actually sales management tools pretending to be software tools for field sales, for salespeople, right? They're actually tools to manage salespeople, or they're built for reporting to management. Whereas
I'm familiar with a few of those in my business, in the retail automotive space.
For sure, and in every industry. And this really was actually, it's great for a team, because the whole team is going to perform better when they have this. They're going to sell more stuff. but it's not. It's built to enable that field salesperson. It's built to save them time, save them effort, automate processes for them, make them better. The average field salesperson spends about 35-40% of their time. I think it's actually 35 to 45% of their time actually selling, depending on industry. And the rest of the time, they're driving around, they're planning, they're doing busy work, they're filling out TPS reports. They're not actually selling. And what this does is try to push that up to give them 20 more percentage points of their time on the actual selling. And so all of the things that we've built are really geared towards making the salesperson more effective, giving them the tools that they really need when they're on the road or planning to be on the road. So it's very different than most things.
Where the benefit comes in is, yes, there's ultimately the goal is to sell, but if you have more time to develop those relationships, because you can spend 20% more time really hone in on the relationship with your potential client, that even adds to the value proposition of what this does, because you don't have to be as rushed, and missteps. You can literally, harness great relationships by the amount of time you have. So that I see as a very, very cool benefit. So what is, and I always ask this question, what is ultimately the problem that you were attempting to solve? Because obviously you were out selling, and you must have had this aha moment or month or a year where you say, if this, if I could have done this differently, I could have actually been this more successful.
Yeah. So it's a matter of helping people see, given where they're going to be over the course of the week. And a lot of reps know, oh, well, I have an appointment on Wednesday at 10 a.m. with this person, and then at 3 p.m. I have an appointment with this person. So I know I'm driving over here. So who's important that is kind of due for a meeting along the way? Who's that I could maybe hit before that first 10 a.m. meeting? Who's important right around them that I could hit right after? Who's on the way to the next meeting that I could hit on the way? What prospects could I drop by if I don't have any important customers in that area? I don't want to just sit on my hands in Starbucks. I want to be selling, or maybe a meeting. And then when after that 3 o'clock, how am I going to? Which way am I going to come home? Or back to the office? Who could I hit that's important? Who am I due to see? And sometimes your 3 o'clock cancels, and it's like, well, okay, it's noon and my 3 o'clock just canceled. I'm out here in this area. How do I change my schedule around to be productive for the rest of the day, given that that I've had a bump in the road? Who should I be focused on in the first place? So those are the problems we've set out to solve. In the end, we just keep focusing on this person, the field salesperson, the outside salesperson, and we look for more problems that they have to solve. We found they have a problem with lead generation, and so we've partnered with data companies so we can surface the information, leads for them on the map as they're going about their day. So let's just say you sell things to dentist offices, and we know where all the dentist offices are. So you as a salesperson might know where a lot of them are, but we know where you can see where your customers are on the map, and then you can bring in Badger data to show you where the other dentist offices are. And so depending on the industry, that can be really useful too. And it's not, and we have, if it's got 4 walls, we've got data providers that will tell us what that is.
Yeah, really cool. So you were at Google for, how long were you at Google for?
About 4 years.
So 3 things that you learned at Google, because this is such an iconic company that we're all connected to every day of our lives. I'm not sure there's a child or a human being in the world that's not familiar with Google. Such a massive entity. So in working at Google, what stuck with you, or what are the 3 things that you would have taken away from such a company?
Well, I guess there's things in different dimensions. So first of all, in terms of company culture, they the way it feels and the experience of actually working at Google is an amazing one, and I've really tried to imitate a lot of the things culturally that they do, a lot of the processes that they have, a lot of the HR, a lot of the cultural things that they do. I've tried to imitate at Badger Maps, because I think they really approached a lot of things from a different angle and really did a fantastic job. You know, and even just stepping back and recognizing that culture and the way you treat employees is extremely important. I think that's something that's lost on a lot of industries, and Google really, in the tech space, I think it's rippled through the whole tech space. I mean, at this point, one of the reasons why it's such a good space to be an employee in technology is because of, you know, Google just everyone that was hiring in tech had to compete with the way Google was doing things, and they did such a good job of making Google an amazing place to work. So I guess that's one thing that I learned from them was the importance of culture and the importance of taking care of your employees and creating a great experience for them.
And that's actually probably the biggest thing today with companies that are trying to write a success formula or operations manual is, you know, Richard Branson will tell you, take care of your employees and they will take care of the company. That's why he's able to have 300 plus companies. You know, there's a culture, and Google with tens of thousands of employees is no different, because how do you physically manage that many people?
Right.
You literally have to depend on, you know, a culture, like you say, or a system whereby they can be wherever in the world and still being productive. So that's extremely important. So having been involved yourself in outside sales, calling in accounts, knocking on doors for so long, is there a method or style that you feel works most for outside salespeople to utilize?
I mean, I guess it really depends on the industry, and Badger works in a variety of industries. You know, like I said, I've spent the last 2 months out in the field myself, using our product, putting it to the test a little bit. But you know, what I was doing was meeting with customers the whole time, and so it was almost exclusively people who were already using the product and customers of ours, and kind of getting to know how they're using the product, understand their industry better. And really what I was looking for was, besides just deepening relationships and getting to know people and their industries better, I was looking for more problems to solve. You know, there are a lot of things in common between a med device salesperson, a pharmaceutical salesperson, a beer salesperson, an auto parts salesperson. All these industries, if they're in field sales, they have a lot of similar problems that we can solve with a platform like this. And so we've added a lot of buttons over the years of different problems that we're solving at this point, but I'm looking to add more. And so I was kind of going around looking to understand where their challenges are, where their sticking points are, where they're wasting maybe 5% of their time, and in a way doing something that we could just do automatically for them.
Yeah, I love it. So having had this experience at Google for 4 years, developed an amazing software company, a culture. If you were to go back to outside sales tomorrow, is there something that you know now that you would ultimately do differently?
Well, well, if I were going to do it this time, now I've built a really useful product for field salespeople. So
yeah,
I would definitely use my product.
But let's say your product wasn't available, right? Because you've done a lot of research to build the product, right? And you've made a lot of discoveries. But if the product wasn't available, right, is there something that you now know that you would have done differently?
Well, I think in general, one of the biggest things that's changed since I left the sales role and started the company in 2012 is that there's been a proliferation of technology in the sales space and the marketing space. So there's a lot of stuff that is out there that you can leverage today that really was either in its infancy when I was doing it or didn't exist at all. And so if I were doing it today, I'd be looking to leverage my time and my efforts with technology, with systems and automation. I guess, when you're a salesperson, you're really running your own small business in a lot of ways. And
Yeah.
and I think I've obviously running a company of this size, I've learned a lot about managing people and learned a lot about business. And I think I would be able to apply a lot of those learnings to this too, about how to, kind of harness the strength of others, um, and just build a team, work with people better, be a better leader. I've learned a lot in the last 6 years about leadership. And in sales, a lot of times you're in a leadership role. You're not, and sometimes the people that you're leading don't even report to you, or maybe they're customers or prospects, but you're leading a conversation, you're leading the relationship. And so there's a lot of leadership in sales that I think, I would look to apply that I've learned in this role, that I skills and abilities I didn't have, emotional intelligence that I didn't have when I was younger and in the sales role.
So is there something that you know now, or you would do today, that others may think may be crazy?
You mean besides leaving a well-paying job to go and start a company?
Yeah, exactly. The one that your mama kept bugging you about.
Exactly. Well, I mean, the craziest thing I've done lately is for sure this trip that I just got back from this past. I just got back on Sunday from this 2-month
Wow.
trip, and I literally went Chicago, Boston, South Carolina, Georgia, Minnesota, Texas, and then out west, and hit every little. I probably hit 50 little cities around, on that path. That's just like the skeleton, the outline. And it took me about 2 months. I guess I was on the road for 7 weeks. So that was, and I would recommend to any leader of a business to do that. Get out in front of your customers, talk with them, understand their problems, understand what you could do more for them. I learned so much by doing that. Understanding their businesses, their industries, doing tours of their factories, that sort of thing. It's so valuable. So that's probably the craziest thing.
Now that you actually went out in the field and you touched and felt and met and
I think the biggest thing that jumped out at me is the power of processes in sales that a sales manager can figure out and build on top of a platform. And I would run into people who were using our product to build a process for their team. For example, labeling all their accounts A, B, C, D accounts, and then in Badger, you can track when you had your last interaction with them, and then being able to say, well, okay, show me all my accounts that are A accounts that I haven't seen in 30 days. Show me all my B accounts that I haven't seen in 60 days. Show me all my C accounts I haven't seen in 90 days. Show me all my D. Don't show me my D accounts. Just make them disappear. and then now that I've got this group, and maybe there's 40 companies in that batch, well, that's them plus these other ones that I know are important and coming up right now. That's who I'm going to see in the next week. I'm going to see, this bottom quartile in the southwest of the city on Monday, and this group on Tuesday, and this group on Wednesday, and planning that out in advance, and actually, setting appointments with them and kind of really scheduling it out. That extra effort around organization can just pay so many dividends. And there are companies that I ran into that were executing this process so cleanly, and that's just one of 10 processes, right? There's just an example, but they would be. I found companies that were executing a process like that so cleanly, and then the next day I would run into another company that just desperately needed a process like that, and I was like, oh, well, here's how you could do that, like this and like this and like this, and here's a guy that I can introduce you that's been running this process, that and they can tell you how they've been running it and how it's worked for them, and they're in a different industry. You sell beer and they sell auto parts, so they're going to be happy to talk with you, but they're in the same town here, and they'll tell you how they're doing it, right? And so putting people together like that was a lot of fun, and just figuring out one of my biggest learnings is definitely you can run strategic plays and processes in sales that as a sales leader you can roll out across your team and can pay so many dividends.
So as a founder and CEO of your own company, you're still doing a bit of the grunt work.
For sure. I think you got to lead from the front, right? I mean, it wouldn't.
Yes.
And frankly, I think that CEOs need to be part sales guy, or sales girl. They need to be in front of their customers. They need to be, selling to their customers, managing relationships with customers, because that's a key constituency of your organization. Your employees, your investors, your customers, your management team. These four constituencies you really have to be in constant touch with, and it's very easy for CEOs, and I think especially in my space, the technology space, it's very easy for CEOs to not pay enough attention to their customers, not get in front of them enough, and you can end up steering the ship in the wrong direction if you don't focus on your customers and what their needs are.
Well, there you go. Customers and a great culture with the employees and leadership.
Yeah.
So tell our audience, Stephen, how we could find you, and what Badger is doing out there in this space right now. How we could find your product and get a hold of you.
Well, you can get a hold of me on LinkedIn. I'm Steve Benson. Just search Steve Benson Badger, I guess. You can find the company. Just Google Badger Maps, and Badger like the animal. And yeah, if people are interested in learning about Badger, just mention the name of the podcast here. The Reid Method, and mention the Reid Method, and we'll. To one of the sales reps, I'll send around an email that have them give you 2 months free, just for enduring listening to me for the last half hour here.
Well, that makes two of us. Well, there you go, folks. 2 months free of the Badger subscription for listening to the podcast. That will be your promo code.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You can, if you want to email me, I'm steve@badgermapping.com, and you can find me on email or LinkedIn or whatever. I've come out with some cool training videos lately, just talking through different field sales skill sets. They're on our YouTube channel. If you just go to our YouTube, just Google Badger Maps YouTube, and there's a bunch of there's like I think like 7 videos now training different areas, like how to overcome objections, how to deal with this and that you run into problems that all field salespeople face, and I've tried to address them.
Well, that's good. Well, Stephen, this has been amazing. I thank you so much for a guy that's just been back from a 2-month-long trip. For taking the time to join us tonight on the show. It's been episode 38 of the Reid Method Insider Podcast, where we've had Steve Benson from Badger Maps join us to talk about how to maximize productivity and sales and profitability, daily sales career and sales and your business. So, any last words, Stephen?
No, this has been a great time. I mean, I've enjoyed being here, and I really appreciate you having me.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time out of your business schedule. And there you go, folks. You can check out Steve on Benson on LinkedIn. It's Badger Maps. He's on Facebook and Twitter. I see there's a Twitter account as well, or badgermapping.com. And I look forward to catching up with you on your next trip when you're close to Toronto.
I'll come over the border this time, Everald. I promise.
You come across the border this time, because I'm not too far from Niagara Falls.
Excellent.
Well, thank you very much, my friend, and have a good evening.
Thanks. Take care.
Take care. You've been into the Reid Method Insider Podcast. It's episode 38, and that was Steve Benson of Badger Maps. And we just finished a really cool episode on how to maximize productivity and sales by incorporating mapping technology. And Steve is the founder and CEO of Badger Maps. You can check out the episodes on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher platforms. And please send your comment and feedback to insider@thereidmethod.com. That's insider@thereidmethod.com, where I see those comments. Download the podcast. You can download it on iTunes, SoundCloud, or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget, 2 months free of Badger Mapping by using promo code the Reid Method Insider, or the Reid Method rather, when you sign up for your Badger map, and try it out. This is an amazing tool, and I'm going to definitely sign up to check it out myself to save time. And who doesn't want to save some time out there, especially us busy salespeople? So until next time, thank you very much for joining us tonight on the Reid Method Podcast. It's been episode 38, and coming up, actually, right after this, is episode 39, where we are going to be joined by another West Coaster out of, he's in BC today, but he's from Calgary as well. And we're definitely going to talk about the future of the automotive sales industry in North America. Looking forward to that episode coming up next on the Reid Method Insider Podcast. Until next time, see you in a bit.
Cool. That was really good. Very entertaining.